Hey, my name is Shawn James. I'm here at the Sunstroke House in Columbus, Mississippi, and this song is called Orpheus. Oh, my heart had been aching since the day that I first laid eyes upon you. I knew you were the one. Since that day, I've never been the same. No one ever could turn me away. Our love is just begun. Oh, and then you open up your heart to me. I will save your soul. I will make you whole. I will not back down. I will shatter death's crown. I will bring you back to life.
Thank you, brother.
No problem at all.
All right, Shawn, thank you so much, man, for sitting down with me today.
Absolutely. It's a pleasure to be here.
So fresh coming in from Nashville, from
Yes,
America
sir.
Fest.
Yeah, it was our first time we've done it. I had heard about it all these years, but I'd never, experienced it. And it's a good way to start the tour, because normally it's like show, back to back. And this one we had a day off when we first got there to get settled, and then we did a few showcases and shows for like the next 3 days. Mm-hmm. And the last 2 days we had off just to enjoy the fest. So it was a really good time.
Nice. Catching a lot of different acts up there as you were
Yeah,
there?
yeah. There was quite a few. Sarah Shook was one, and
Yeah, she's been here.
yeah, I saw that actually. I saw that. It's pretty rad.
Yeah.
there was a bunch. Orville Peck was one we saw last night. Another group from Portland called Horse Feathers was one of my favorites.
Oh, yeah.
But, you know Horse Feathers?
Horse Feathers is good,
yeah, man. I saw them actually 10 years ago in the basement in Nashville. And it was cool to see him for the festival and everything, too, you know?
Yeah. And so just for folks listening, the tour, so this is stop number 2?
This is number 2, besides the festival, yep.
And so where else is that going to take you?
It's a 2.5 month straight run. Yeah, we started the year in the East Coast and kind of came to the Midwest and stopped. And then we went to Europe, and now we're basically filling out the rest of it. So it's gonna start in the South and the Midwest, and then go all the way out west.
Nice.
So it's a long one, yeah.
All right, man. Let's. I want to unfold a few things with you. So you're originally from Nashville.
I'm originally from Chicago.
Oh, wow.
Born and raised. Yeah, I lived in Nashville a few years.
Okay.
In 2008 or so. But I'm from Chicago.
From Chicago.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And so growing up, I see you got a Robert Johnson shirt on.
Yeah, I had to wear it. I'm in Mississippi. Come on.
Hey, Catfish Alley is just right there, man.
That's amazing.
But growing up, man, what were your influences? What got you into music?
For me, it was the church, you know, because I grew up, my parents were hardcore Pentecostals in Chicago, which was a rare thing, to be honest.
Yeah.
But there was also a lot of gospel churches out there, and music just spoke to me at an early age through the church and everything, and that was the thing that I kind of related to. And then quickly, you know, I could sing, and I was decent at it, so then I got into opera and choir and all this other stuff. But really the main influence is gospel music and soul music, and then eventually got into like old blues artists like we were talking about, Son House, Robert Johnson, stuff like that.
Right. And so picking up the guitar, what age did that happen?
You know, I had a guitar when I was like 14, 15. It was my dad's old classical guitar from like the 80s, and it was a horrible guitar. So I tried to learn on it, and it was so difficult. And I eventually just kind of gave up, to be honest.
Yeah.
And I just kept singing. That was my thing. It just came naturally. So realistically, I picked up the guitar and actually learned how to play when I was about 22, 23 years old.
So that would have been around the time moving to Nashville?
Yep, it was in Nashville that I really started learning how to songwrite and play the guitar and sing and play at the same time, you know, because I had never done that before.
Yeah.
I'd been in bands, but only as the vocalist.
Yeah.
So Nashville taught me a lot, you know, and that's where I really started fleshing it out and learning how to do it on my own, you know.
And so leaving Chicago, you went straight to Nashville? Was it to pursue music? Or?
No. I left Chicago and I moved to Orlando, Florida. And I went and got an audio engineering degree because I thought that
Full Sail?
Yeah, it was Full Sail. I went to Full Sail and I got the degree and everything because I thought, you know, I was pressured to like have a backup plan. What are you going to do? You know, the typical getting older thing. So I went and did it, and it was fun. It was a good experience. And I got that, and I thought, well, where am I going to go now with this? And Nashville was pretty close, and it seemed logical with all the studios and everything else there. So that's when I moved to Nashville. I think it was about 2007, 2008, something like that.
Yeah, okay. And so what studio did you fall in?
I had a brief stint at Dark Horse, and then the main one was Paragon Studios in Franklin, Tennessee.
Gotcha. Mm-hmm. And so, man, the first song I heard from you, it was on Pandora. It was Flow.
Okay, yeah.
And I've heard a little bit in an interview about the story behind it. This was 2012, along that time?
In the interview, yeah. Mm-hmm.
And the story behind Flow was it was kind of in a rock between a rock and a hard place, right?
Well, it's kind of funny that you asked the question you did before this, because that's pretty much what it was. I moved to Nashville, and I was pursuing the recording engineering thing, and I was assisting and interning, and I was doing really well, and I was a part of these awesome sessions and learning a lot, you know. And one day the head of the studio at Paragon, I remember he invited me to a session, and it's rare because the new people don't normally get to, and he invited me in, and I was doing it and learning, and he could just tell, I guess, because at the end of the session he was like, do you want to be here? Like, what's wrong? Like, And I was like, at that moment, I felt my gut drop, and it was just like, no, I don't want to be the one twisting the knobs and making other people sound good and all that. Not that there's anything wrong with that, but it's just not what I wanted at the time. And so that's when I was having this internal conflict of, career path and stability and something you can actually count on. Mm-hmm. And then chasing this wild dream of making music, and who knows if that's going to pan out. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it was then, and I talked to my wife, and she was super supportive. She's always known that I've loved music and always wanted to do it. So she gave me the go-ahead on her end, and it was just a big internal struggle, because what that meant was I was giving up stable money and just going to go and see what happens and risk it. So that's when I went out to a river. It was in Nashville, but kind of like in Antioch, Old Hickory area. It's an offshoot of the Cumberland. Mm-hmm. And I brought a guitar with me, and I was sitting there just kind of, going through my head all the things about that. And I just started playing that little riff. And it was just that, and I just kept doing it. Mm-hmm. And I was by the river, and it was super just beautiful and calming, and kind of just calmed me down. And within like 15 minutes... I just kept playing that, and the lyrics just came. Like I hadn't pre-written anything, and it was just there. It was the right moment, right time, and that's how I wrote that song. So yeah, that was in Nashville, right outside of it. Mm-hmm.
Those moments are rare, man.
It is. I think my best work is when I don't think about it too much. Yeah, and it just comes out of necessity.
Yeah, I sing and play a little bit, and I've had one experience like that. And it's still my favorite song I've ever written. Yeah. And it was that, I couldn't write the words down quick enough.
Yeah. It's a beautiful thing. I started using my phone now. Yeah. I just hit record, and I'm like, all right, here we go.
Yeah. Yeah. And so, what about Orpheus? Where did that come from?
Orpheus, so I've been obsessed with mythology and legends and folklore my whole life. Uh-huh. And, I loved how the old blues guys used to integrate a lot of the stories, but in their own way, mm-hmm. And I always wanted, Orpheus was always one of my favorite myths, just because, he had the power to I think there was said in one story he could make rocks cry, and he just had the power of emotion in music and could make incredible things happen through it. And then he lost his wife, Eurydice, mm-hmm. and she went down to hell, and he followed her there, and through music, defeated all these physical odds that were impossible, and, turned the heart of Hades to let him take her out, mm-hmm. And I'm doing a summed up version of the story, but essentially on the way out, she looked back or something like that, or he looked back to look at her. He wasn't supposed to look. He was supposed to know that she was behind him. Mm-hmm. And he was supposed to go out, but if he looked back, then she would be trapped in the underworld forever. So he looked back because he was doubting, and then that happened. So it's just it's a sad story, and it's a beautifully poetic story. Mm-hmm. But I think why I loved it so much is it really shows, sometimes when you're so dedicated to something, logic doesn't play into the decision making, or you're just going to do it no matter what. Against all odds, no matter how impossible it seems. And that's, I'd always wanted to write that story, that Orpheus story. And that one was really, I waited because I didn't feel like I was ready. Because, mm-hmm. I'd only recently been songwriting since I was, early 20s. And I never felt like I was ready. And then this last album, I was like, okay, let's do it. And I did it from his perspective. So it's just what I would think he would be going through. Especially, I don't go into him losing her. My viewpoint on it was what he was feeling when he found out that he lost her, and then that sheer will and drive to make it happen. And mm-hmm. that's I will bring you back to life and all that. But yeah, I just, I'd always loved it, and I finally felt like it was right,
Yeah, man. So to go back to just after that riverbank and Rotten Flow. Uh-huh. Where did everything go from there? It started picking up, right?
Not yet, actually. I wrote that song, and I just kind of held on to it. And I think I wrote a couple more from the first album, Shadows. And then my little 11-year-old sister got cancer, thyroid cancer, in Chicago.
Oh, wow.
So right after I made that decision and all this stuff, that happened, and I moved back to Chicago just to support her and help her, because I knew I had to be there for her, you know. I was 12 years older than her, and she looked up to me, and, you know, I went back there, and I was working a BS job unloading semi-trucks from 4 a.m. to noon just to be able to make it to her doctor's appointments, and living in my parents' basement with my wife just because I had to be there for the family. It wasn't a choice. It was a choice, but it wasn't what I wanted, but it's just the scenario that happened, and I couldn't not do that, you know.
You had to.
Had to. So I did that, and that was about a year. And during that time, it was like really, really, really heavy. First of all, she beat it. She's doing much better. After a year of going through surgeries, doctor's appointments, all that kind of stuff, she beat it, and she's doing much better. But because I had to be the positive one during that time, because my family, I love them, but when bad things happen, they're very woe is me, everything is bad, tears, crying, and I was like, that is not the kind of attitude that's going to save her from this and make her feel good and be able to beat it. So I had to be the positive one.
Yeah.
But it was a really heavy thing to watch a little 11-year-old girl go through the thoughts of life and death and what if, this and that. And no little kid should ever have to think of that. So it weighed on me heavy, and the way that I would kind of deal with it is I would, when she would fall asleep, whether in the hospital or at home, I'd take a guitar and I'd go to another room, I'd go outside, I'd go to the yard if we were home, and I would kind of drain my emotions through music. And I wrote songs like Midnight Dove is the one I wrote for her during that. And I wrote some stuff from The Wolf then as well, the EP. I think by having that happen, obviously it's not a blessing that happened, but musically it created this need for me to drain my emotions, which made the songwriting even easier and more emotional and real.
I've read that, and see what you think about it, and this may be exactly what this is, but that the artist is in need of a constant struggle or a heartache.
You're not wrong. You know, and when it's not like that, the songs I write, they're good, but they just don't feel as real because I started that way. I think you know what I mean. Yeah. But yeah, it's a struggle that I'm still going with now because you know things are good and everybody, even when things are the best, there's still things that happen. But I'm trying to get over my own thought of that and be able to write songs without them having to be so heavy or you know what I mean.
Yeah.
But it's a difficult thing. You're right, because that's really inspiring to go through something and then release emotions through music and deal with it.
Yeah. Yeah, I've got a couple of friends. It seems like all they can write is happy, upbeat songs, and I'm over here just losing it out. You know.
Yeah, man.
It's like you need to cheer up. I was like, this is what I got.
Yeah. Hey, you know, everybody's different. You know, it is what it is. You know, some people are meant to write happy stuff. Some people lean towards another, and just like genres, you know, you can't judge someone on that. It's what they feel.
Yeah.
So yeah, after that happened, she was better, and I was like, well, I'm not gonna move back to Nashville. I made that choice. We don't need to be there anymore because I'm not doing that really. And I had a couple friends from an old band that were in Arkansas, in Fayetteville.
Okay.
And so I moved out there. I went down there for a week and loved it. It's you know, it's a college town. There was a little arts community, a good circle of musicians, and I had an in with that friend group, so it was an easy, and it was cheap cost of living, center of the U.S. So I was like, this is a perfect place to start a home base for what I want to do musically. So after moving to Fayetteville in 2012, like literally January 1st, I started writing more music. I'd had about 6 to 8 songs already that I, like I said, like Flow, Midnight Dove, some of the Wolf things. But I wanted to flesh the stuff out and do more. And so when I got there, I started busking because you know, I was unloading semi-trucks making money, and I was like, you know what, if I'm going to do this, I need to be fully dedicated to it. So I said, you know, I'm not going to work. And that's a scary thing to think about. I don't have a steady income. So I started busking as soon as I got there, and I quickly learned. I remember the first day I did it, I made $100 in an hour at a farmer's market. And I was like, what have you been doing 40 hours a week unloading semi-trucks for, you idiot?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So that kind of opened my mind up. And from then on, I was making just as much, if not more, doing backbreaking work, but playing music and busking.
And doing what you love.
Yeah, and at the same time, I was writing the record and writing the rest of the songs. And so we recorded Shadows in my house, in my bedroom, with one microphone, with a buddy who would come over who didn't know anything about it, and I was like, press space bar. And I'm in front of the mic, it's done. So that's how we did Shadows. And, busking turned into some people giving me a shot at a venue to open a gig, which turned into them giving me more gigs, and then doing solo gigs, and then, people recommending me to a booking agent because they thought it was worth it, and it snowballed from there, and then we started doing YouTube videos and live takeaway videos like the Flow one you saw, and that really catapulted everything, because I feel like, you can easily create something and perfect it in a studio and on a track, but when you strip it down and you've got a video right there and you're showing that you can do it without any bells and whistles and just strip down and bare, that's where the proving comes in. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that helped us out a lot. And like I said, we just, ever since, I think we started touring in 2013. So we put out the record in 2012.
Is this for the Shapeshifters?
This was solo. This was off of the Shadows album, so it was solo. But I toured with Baker, which is a guy, he was a Army vet, and he wrote Eating Like Kings. And he toured with me on banjo, mandolin. That's how it started. Me and a kick drum and him and a tambourine. And then we got a fiddle player. And then we were touring so much in 2013, but we were touring from the ground up, very DIY. And what I quickly realized is all these emotional songs, when no one knows them or wants to hear them, it's hard to play those in a rowdy bar when you're supposed to be playing music for people that don't know you. It's different when you're known and you go to a place and people come to see you. It's more respectful. It's, they'll actually want to hear the songs. But that's where the Shapeshifters came from, because I've quickly realized that it wasn't translating the right way. House shows or something like that, these emotional, sad songs are perfect. You can milk emotions. But people were rowdy, they wanted to drink, they wanted to have fun, and I realized that. And so we wrote The Bear, which is that southern, swampy, stomping, heavier record, and we started applying that to the shows and remade some of the old songs with a band feel, and then that helped as well, because we were able to then, travel around, play shows, and actually make an impression and not just be the sad bastard in the corner. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that's where that was, and we did that for a while, and then the Shapeshifters got so different from what the acoustic stuff was, and it became its own band, essentially, that I separated them. So, the Shapeshifters are now the heavier rock and roll, rowdy, riff-driven, roaring vocal type thing. And the Shawn James thing is the more emotional, acoustic, and a little bit of rock and roll here and there, but nowhere near the Shapeshifters.
Yeah. I'm excited to see what's going to happen tonight, man. In the house, right? We're
going to have fun, man. You never know when you play house shows. And that's why I always, talking to everybody, I'm like, I can do this solo. And they're like, no, I want the band. And I was like, all right, okay.
You sure?
You're gonna, I'll give it to you.
We're going to blow the doors out.
Hell yeah. But it's going to be fun, man. After we've done 1,000 shows the past 6 years, and we played under not every scenario, but a lot of scenarios. So nothing really scares me anymore. You know, it's just I want to make everyone else comfortable.
Right. And so as the tour went on, solo and then Shapeshifters, and when did the TV shows come and start putting you on?
Man.
And how did that come to be?
All that stuff, most of it came from the YouTube videos, right? So we had this stuff online that went viral and got more attention. Like the first one was Who Did That to You by John Legend. We did a cover when Django Unchained came out. I saw that and I was like, man, I want to cover that and I can slay it. So we went on this radio station and we did it, and it was videoed, and that's the first video we did that went viral. Someone posted it on Reddit, and then it got front page, and that was the first one. Then we did a Wolf Sanctuary where we played a cover of A.A. Bondi's American Hearts, and that went viral and got 1 million. And sprinkled in between those, there were all these live takeaway shows and little things that, you know, we did along the way. But all those, the TV shows, the commercials came directly to my email because they had heard it somewhere. Most of the time it was from YouTube. Mm-hmm. And they liked it. Yeah. So we've been on Discovery Channel with Yukon Men. They took Omens from the Shapeshifters. And they found that through YouTube, just, you know, being over there.
Yeah.
And then we run a Harley Davidson commercial with The Wanderer. There's been a lot of stuff. We were on HBO Shameless.
Yeah, that's
with No Rest.
Uh-huh.
And in the beginning, all of them just emailed me. And I was like, at first I didn't really take it serious. And I was like, BS. This isn't really true. I don't believe it. Mm-hmm. And then it just kept working out. And the biggest one was the Sony PlayStation Last of Us with Through the Valley. Through the Valley is one of the darkest, most depressing songs I've ever written. And even on Shadows, like, it wasn't a popular song at all, but it was one of my favorites, you know. And then Sony PlayStation emailed me one day and was like, hey, we can't tell you about anything about this project. We can tell you it's a top-tier game. I'm not going to tell you how we're going to use it. I'm not going to tell you if you're going to use your version. I'm not going to say what game it is and if you'd agree with the placement or anything, but you want in? And at first I was like, no. I didn't say that, but I was, you know, talking to some people. I was like, I don't feel good about it because how are they going to represent the song, you know? What if they're not going to tell me anything about it? And then a friend of mine was like, Shawn, this is a huge opportunity for you to reach more people and hopefully make a difference in your career in the music world. I think you should take the risk. There's no reward without risk. So I did. And it worked out very well. 3 years later, they released... This is 3 years... When I got the email, it was 3 years before they released the trailer. Mm-hmm. They released the trailer. It was The Last of Us, which is like the biggest... One of the hugest Sony PlayStation games ever. Mm-hmm. And that catapulted the amount of people that was listening. They put me in front of a huge audience, and that double my listener base increased by like 20 times, 20 to 30 times bigger, and our shows started doubling, tripling, quadrupling. We got more things happening. We had a publishing company we were working with, and then, you know, through them I got with Parts and Labor Records, the independent label the new album's out on. So all these things kind of snowballed into each other, but it was all very random and in the moment, and I didn't necessarily seek them out or hunt for them. I was just making the music I love, touring a lot, and putting out videos, and it all came naturally. You know? It's wild.
Yeah. And so with just a little bit on the future, you got the tour for the remainder of this year. Mm-hmm. And writing, are you working on the next album?
I don't, you know, I tend to not write while I'm on the road, just because my head is... It's like I look at it, it's kind of messed up. I look at it as like a deployment. So I'm focusing on like the mission at hand, playing the shows, doing the best I can there, having fun with people, talking to people. And for me to write, I tend to have to be in solitude and alone and really flesh my feelings and thoughts out. So the schedule's been the past few years, you tour from like, you know, February, March to November, December, and then in the winter months is typically when I'm ready to write, because I haven't been writing at all, and there's like this surplus of wanting to write, and then when I get the time and I'm alone, it all comes out. But I have written a couple songs. Huh?
Does the season help? Like it just being winter and everything's kind of dead?
I don't know, man. That's a good question. I don't know, because I think maybe it's maybe it be in the winter and chillier and kind of locked away, it kind of helps with the solitude, but I don't know if the winter helps or not. Maybe. I couldn't answer that. You know, I've thought about that. Actually, it's a good question.
But you were saying you got a couple of songs.
Yeah, so I wrote a couple, and one of them is one of my favorite songs. It's another dark one, really dark one. It's questioning a lot of things about war and vengeance, even if vengeance is justified, and stuff like that, and putting myself in other people's shoes and kind of going through the thoughts of what they must be feeling versus what reality is. And so I've written a couple, and the one reminds me of a cross between Thief in the Moon and Through the Valley.
Okay.
And I think people are really going to dig that one. It's one of my favorites, so.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, man, anything else to just add or subtract? We can go ahead and start walking this thing out the door.
Yeah, not really, Come out, see us at a show. We're touring. With this, we're doing... the Shapeshifters aren't touring right now because we toured so much and didn't write any new music for so long that we said we're going to push pause on that till we have a new record. It's halfway done, the record, but we're waiting. So, if you come out to see us, you'll see a lot of acoustic stuff in the middle. We always do, the emotional acoustic stuff, and then it's surrounded by a lot of rock and roll stuff as well. So it's a roller coaster ride of sounds and emotions for sure. But yeah, I don't really have much else to add. We're just on the road enjoying it and looking forward to writing in the winter.
Yeah. And so just as far as social media and finding you, it's pretty easy to do. Spotify, YouTube.
Yeah, Instagram, Facebook, anywhere where we're all over the place on there. Shawn James Music is normally what it's under, or just Shawn James. Yeah. SHAWN.
All right. Brother, you want to close us out with another song?
Yeah, I'll do another new one. So yeah, this one's from the new record, The Dark and the Light, which we put out in March, and it's called There It Is. How can we love with no love around? Why do we hate when hate abounds? Don't you tell me to calm down. How can you fall back and not make a sound? There it is, there it is. I've been searching my whole life for an existence that just felt right. Now that I'm older, I finally found happiness is real when you let your guard down. There it is, there it is. I don't know what you're going through, and I don't know where you've been. I know that you are meant for so much more than this. Rise to our best. If you hold us down, we will never rest. All the pain that you cause, you will reap what you sow. There's no turning back. We won't let it go.
Thank you, brother.
Hey, thank you very much, man.
News and notes. You've already got all your notes. That's all you're going to get. That's all you need. So, Shawn, thank you so much again for taking the time to sit down with me on another episode of Porch Talk. Jamie, thank you so much for all that you do at the Sunstroke House and your heart for music. And the fact that Shawn and the Shapeshifters came and played in Columbus, Mississippi. There were people who drove 5 hours to be at the show. Blows my mind. Now, Shawn probably only played at Mississippi. Maybe this was the 5th time. But that just goes to show just its worth, its value. And hands down, it was probably one of the greatest shows I'd ever been to. And so if you haven't seen Shawn James live, do yourself a service. And go do that. That's really all the news or notes I have for you. Next episode, I'm catching up with Monk. We're going to do an Untapped and Vinyl for you. You'll hear about that soon enough. That'll be in a couple of days. All right, guys, I'm getting on out of here. We've done well here. It's your host, Alan, and peace out.